Hey Mzansi and everyone connecting from elsewhere in the world. I'm Donumdu, editor at Food for Mzansi, and welcome to Food for Mzansi TV. Now, over the past few weeks, I've been joined by Bertie Haman, the Senior Manager for Agribusiness at Standard Bank, and I've really been enjoying our engagements. And he joins me today again to share some business advice and just give you the know in terms of what you need to do in terms of your finances. And it goes across board. So whether you're a farmer, whether you're running an agribusiness, or whether you're just starting up in the industry, Bertie will definitely have some advice for you. Hi, Bertie. Thanks so much for joining me again. How have you been?
Very well, thank you, Dawn. Thanks for having me, and hello to all the listeners and viewers out there.
So today we're talking about the impact of time on compounded profits. Bertie, what is the impact of time on compounded profits? What does it mean, and what is it all about?
Dawn, I think, if I can summarize it in a couple of words, and I'm going to exploring a couple of more ideas now, but it's being all about being patient. Make careful decisions and be patient. But if I can delve into a bit more detail, I think the whole idea comes down to the whole concept of Rome wasn't built in one day. It's all about working consistently towards your long-term goals. Instead of taking undue risk, chances, then end up never actually achieving any of your goals. Within this context, I think there's a couple of components that's worthwhile highlighting. The first one, as I just mentioned, is around being patient. Now, patience refers to the capacity to accept and tolerate delays, problems, or even suffering without being annoyed or anxious. Right? The benefit of being patient is that it allows you to make better decisions. So that's the first thing that I think is important to point out here. The next idea is around consistency. Now, consistency is actually something that should empower you in various ways. For example, it allows you to do proper measurement and improvement. And why do I say that? If you are actually starting out to doing something for the first time, invariably you will have to do the same task a number of times before you actually know if it works for you or doesn't work for you. And that's what consistency is, doing the same thing and doing the same thing over and over again. Maybe learn slightly from your mistakes and tweak slightly where you then can improve. And then the final idea that I want to highlight is that of predictability. The agriculture environment is actually very unpredictable. Farmers will, I suppose, agree with me on that. There are so many variables that's not within your span of control, and you cannot do anything about it, and therefore it's also very difficult to predict. In fact, many farmers will actually tell you that that's why they are not that keen to do any budgets, because it's too unpredictable. But I'm actually contending that if you are patient, as we just described, you are actually likely to make better financial decisions. If I add to this consistency and the benefits that brings to you, then I actually argue that some of these variables may become more predictable than what we actually think. So when these variables become more predictable, you can actually budget better. And if you can budget better, stuff become more predictable again. So it's actually a very reciprocal process. And it gains financial strength if you are willing to allow time to work through you through the benefits of compounding.
Now, can you give us some examples of the benefits of compounding profits?
Yes, Dawn, I think there are actually quite significant benefits. If you are patient and consistent and predictable, you are most likely also going to get easier access to finance your financial institutions because they know what you are all about. You've proved yourself in the past. So that's one of the immediate benefits of being predictable. It's much better to actually record lower profits but consistently recording profits. It's recording a record profit in the 1 year and a record low in the next year. That's not a situation we want. We actually want to avoid that type of situation. And the next one is actually a financial example that I have here. And now again, if the viewers can maybe just listen carefully, because I'm going to name a couple of numbers here. And I've just slightly put two scenarios on here. And the one is a high scenario, and the other one is a lower scenario. Now, the lower scenario is what I refer to as scenario 1. And here I'm going to mention to you a couple of revenue numbers, which I've just put in for the next 3 years. So on scenario number 1, this farmer suggests he's going to make a 10,000 Rand revenue next year. Then on the year after, 12,000 Rand revenue. And in the third year, he's going to make 14,000 Rand revenue. So over the space of 3 years, he's going to be making 36,000 Rand of revenue. Now, scenario 2, this is more a sort of unpredictable type of a farmer. He also want to make 36,000 Rand over the space of 3 years. But he thinks, based on his planning, he's going to be making a 15,000 Rand revenue in the first year, compared to 10,000 in the previous scenario. In the second year, because this farmer is taking a couple of chances, he unfortunately is going to be recording a loss of 1,000 Rand. And in the third year, he's not going to sort of pull everything right. He's going to make a 22,000 Rand profit, compared to scenario 1, where the farmer is only making a 14,000 Rand profit there. So over the 3 years, it comes down to the same thing, 36,000 Rand, both scenarios. But you will see the one is more consistent, the other one is more up and down, record high profits, and then also losses. Now, if I use just a discount rate of 6%, that's just the discount rate I'm using, then you can calculate the net present value of these 3 different cash flows. And you will actually see the first scenario on a net present value is 140 Rand per annum. So what I'm suggesting is you don't have to make record profits at the risk of making record losses as well. If you just operate consistently, you can actually, over a period of time, outperform in consistency. So that's the second benefit, of looking at the benefits of compounding over a period of time, even if it's at lower numbers initially.
I think when I speak to farmers, they're always talking about consistency being key, and I think consistency is key when it comes to finances as well, Bertie. But what should I do as a farmer to get the benefits of compounding profits?
Don, I think the answer is actually quite simple. It all goes back to the very first discussion we had, and that is to have a very realistic objective. If your objective is too optimistic, you will take undue chances and risk. You run the risk of running out of cash, you pay your creditors, you run the risk of being overcapitalized, actually making financial losses, you perhaps have a favorable return on your ego, but a very unfavorable return on your equity. So that's one of the things we should be avoiding. But what you should be doing is having a very realistic objective. Prepare your budget diligently and prudently track your progress against your budget. That's the second suggestion I have. Then be patient and be consistent in what you do. Then also I suggest speak regularly to your various financial advisors to make sure that you've got proper information to base your decisions on, to make sure that your farming decisions and your financial decisions are all well aligned.
Thank you so much. That was Bertie Hamman, Senior Manager for Agribusiness at Standard Bank. Is there anything else that you'd like to add on this topic before we let you go today, Bertie?
Maybe just from my side, I think one have to acknowledge that agriculture is not an easy sector to operate in. And you look at very animals, it's really not that easy. So I'm by no means suggesting it's an easy environment. I'm acknowledging all the challenges that farmers out there have, but I'm also acknowledging all the great progress they are making and all the commitment they have towards agriculture. And from Standard Bank side, we take our hats off to the farmers out there. We congratulate you on your endeavors, on your efforts. Well done. Keep it going.
Thank you so much, Bertie. I've really enjoyed our engagement, and I look forward to not our next conversation, but definitely still a representative from Standard Bank will be joining us. Really appreciate your time and for sharing all of your financial advice and expertise. Thank you so much again. That was Bertie Hamman, Senior Manager for Agribusiness at Standard Bank.